It is 7 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock. You're listening to WTSB. We're 1090 on your AM radio dial, Selma, Smithfield, North Carolina. We're going to start things off with the Tennessee Plowboy Eddie Arnold and Moonlight and Roses.
Y'all come on in and let's get set up. We're ready to go. She's going to sit here and I'm going to sit over there. We're going to open up what we call the open line, 3:30.
3:30.
Okay. And we'll be here for, say, 30 minutes if need be. Nobody might not call, but then I have a feeling they're going to call on Cool Breeze. I don't know. He was such a character. Everybody knew him so well. So y'all go ahead and set up. Well, thank you very much. We have a couple of guests in the studio with us at this time. Beth has come to Johnston County and to Smithfield in particular to do a documentary on none other than the one and only Cool Breeze.
Everybody in the town knew who Cool Breeze was. You know what I mean?
I can still see him exactly what he wore. You know, he's got his overalls on, and with the big wide eyes, you knew it was Cool Breeze.
Physically, he was just a big man. I always had on a blue jean jacket, a long one with pockets on the front.
I have heard that he could pick up 200 bags of fertilizer or whatever with his teeth. So he was a powerful man, a great big man.
My earliest remembrance of him was drinking Pepsi-Cola.
His main favorite drink was Pepsi-Cola, and he would drink anywhere from 1 to about 6 or 8.
He was known for drinking crates of Pepsis at once. Anybody else tell you the same thing?
I remember one election that somebody wrote in. They apparently didn't like the persons running for mayor, and so for mayor, Cool Breeze got 1 vote.
Some days he was a black man, and some days he had this thing about saying, well, I'm not speaking to white folks today, and this is one of his little things. Everybody knew this way he would say.
He would say, I'm not talking to white people today. And you know, I never understood where that came from.
They ain't talking to no white folks today.
I ain't talking to white folks today. I ain't talking to white folks today.
The open line is open, and caller, turn the volume down on your radio and come on in and say hello to Beth.
Hello, Beth. How you doing? Yeah, I used to be when I was there in Smithfield when he would come up on the job, and I had a black man to help me work and all. He'd tell that black man that helped me work, said, I don't talk your kind. But I'll tell you one thing, he loved Pepsi-Cola to death.
Frank, anything else you can remember about Cool Breeze?
But what I want to know, how did he get his name?
I have no earthly idea.
I don't know. I guess he was always sitting outside, so maybe he was cool and he was sitting in the breeze. I don't know. I don't know where the name would have come from.
Cool Breeze, he's just taking it easy, cooling up down the street.
I think the phone is now ringing. Caller, turn the volume down, say hello to Beth. And do you know how Cool Breeze got the nickname?
I believe I do, Brother Carl.
Okay.
You remember when we used to have buses that went from Selma to Smithfield?
Okay, yes.
The word got out that the reason they called him Cool Breeze because he'd ride that bus and hang out the window to get the cool breeze.
It's pretty neat you're doing this, and I can't believe we're talking about Cool Breeze, but hey, here we are, you know what I mean?
Hey, there's a lot of legend has sprung up around Cool Breeze. You're going back to an era right now that's very special.
This is where he lived with me for 5 years, at least 5 years, maybe 6. Our mother died in 1971, and so he was sort of free to go and work and do as he pleased. And I just took care of him, his clothing, took care of cleaning up the house. George was the oldest of 6 children. And I, Della, am the youngest of 6. I don't know what you would classify him as now. He was not autistic, he was not that, but he stopped working early, I know, and did not go to school. Some of my fondest memories were when we would go, Rena lives in Raleigh, and when we would go to Raleigh, I call him Papa in the later years. I call him Papa, and I said, Papa, we're going to Raleigh. And we get on the car, and then I start singing, and he would start singing, and we would sing just about all the way to Raleigh, you know, and he could really sing. So those are some of my fondest memories, that we shared a moment, you know, the moments together, just singing. there's some things that about, not about him, but about the way he was treated that are not so good. So do you want to hear that, or you just want the good things? He came home one day, his head, he was bald all up here. He just, fringe of hair around there. And someone had put grease all over his head, Axa grease, all over his head. Sometimes children would throw rocks at him. And then come and I would say, why are you doing that to him? What has he done to you? People took advantage of him and did things to him. And they were hurtful things.
Sure was.
And
That you don't like Smithfield to this day. No, come down too much. Good.
there were people that were good to him, and there were people who were not good to him. They hurt him in ways, and I saw it, and it hurt me.
If there was one thing you could ask people in Smithfield about him, what would you want to ask them?
Well, I guess maybe do they really get to know him, to know what he was really about? Did they get to understand him and what he was really about? I think some did. And I know someone spoke to me and said they would always make time to talk with him. And somebody asked him, are you talking to him? Or he said yes. And I guess they felt he couldn't hold a conversation, with him, but he could. See, and that's what, did people ever really get to understand that he was a person and that he could talk and he could understand?
Good afternoon, you're on the open line. Say hello to Beth. Come right on in.
Hello, Beth. This is Norman Johnson in Smithfield.
Now, let me tell you, Norman is a former mayor here, a former chief of the fire department here. So since we want this on the documentary of the history and times of Smithfield, North Carolina. Come on in, Norman.
Thank you, Carl. Yes, I remember Cool Breeze very well. Of course, his real name was George. I happened to be in a store one night when Cool Breeze came in, and he wanted Pepsi-Cola, as you had been talking about. And so this gentleman there said, well, I will buy you 12 Pepsis if you will drink all of them. So he drank the 11 and a half, and he set the 12th one down. And he said, that's all I want. That's all I'm going to drink. And he turned and walked out. But that's just the way he was.
Okay.
But he was a colorful character. No harm, no danger. He was just at heart a good man.
I still think there's so much we could all learn about what Cool Breeze was, because he was just such a mystery to all of us. He was present and he was always around Smithfield, but we never truly knew him.
I went to see him about 3 years ago, and he was blind. He had turned blind, so I was told. And I said, I've not seen Cool Breeze in years. I'm going to go by and see him, and I did. And he was sitting by, he had his bed was by the window. And I asked him, I said, George, how you doing? All right. But he didn't turn around to talk to me or anything. And I said, I want to drop by and see how you were doing. Hadn't seen you lately. He said, okay. And that's all. And he died about 6 months later, something like that. I miss seeing him. I used to see him regular. You expected to see him up the street just like you would the sheriff or the mayor or anybody else, see. But I think about Cool Breeze pretty often. I really do.
It's obvious that he has, he's helped develop our history here. And him walking down the street, everybody knew who he was. And if he was still alive today, people would still know who Cool Breeze was. I've talked about Cool Breeze to my children. So he's definitely somebody that probably needs a little monument downtown Smithfield.
He came out of a loving family, and he was loved. And I loved him dearly. He was like a dad to me, in a sense. I was not ashamed of him. and Smithfield to know that those who thought well of him and who he serviced their yards or homes or their places of business, who took time out to talk with him and try to understand him, that we appreciate that. I'm glad to know that he did some things that people could see, that he was giving and loving. And you don't have to be educated to have a heart. All you have to do is grow up in the love of Jesus and be shown love, that you give love back. I mean, he far reached a lot of people, more than I even know, people that I don't even know that he touched their lives.
I just pray that somehow he'll look back and know. Y'all have a good day.
Okay.
You know, as you go back, it seemed like every small town had some personality that was outstanding. You don't find those people as rampant today as you did many, many years ago. Cool Breeze is just a very special person, very much loved, somebody we respected, somebody that we cared about. So I think that does it for today.